Alright guys, welcome to Restart in the Rain. I hope you like the new overlay. If you look very close you can see little rain effects, some splatters on the bottom. I just thought it was neat. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it, but it's an option I have. I can always turn it off. Wanted to try it for this video. Anyways, this time we're going to be checking out this Aerena game, which I am a huge fan of. It's that AE, I don't even know how you pronounce it, but I just call it Aerena. But it's like Aether and all that fun stuff. But basically what it is it's a tactics game. And it's not one of those RPG tactic games that have been dominating the market. It's back to your roots of you start with a couple people, they start with a couple people, and that's the game. Nothing from outside of the game affects you once you start. You don't get levels, you don't level up. It's just a pure fun tactics game like a lot of the board games you guys play or other stuff like that. So when you get in, it'll go through a pretty good tutorial, and this is just to cover some of the stuff they might not tell you. First off, if you're one of the people that have been playing for a while, there is a ship that you have to unlock before you can buy. It's just a skin, so most people won't be interested. But if you are interested, what'll happen is down here, there will be a whale that pops up maybe like once an hour or so for 5 minutes. Just keep checking down there, leave it up in the background, and if you ever see a whale, click on him. It'll bring you into a battle, and if you win that battle, you'll get an achievement and the ability to buy that skin, but the skin doesn't do anything, so unless you're going to spend the money, it might not be worth it. I think you unlock a little bit of free cash. The system plays a lot like most MOBAs, where you have cash that you buy, and they start you out with some, and then you have cash that you earn in the game for free, and everything that you that affects the gameplay you can buy with in-game cash. The only thing right now that you can't buy with in-game cash is a cosmetic skin for one of the ships. Even most of the skins and other stuff you can buy with the in-game cash. Well, there's not skins actually, so there's not really cosmetic things, but pretty much everything you can buy with the in-game cash. So it'll go through a tutorial, and you'll slowly unlock these things right here. But there's a couple things they don't tell you. So let's get into this. First of all, this is where you buy all your items for the most part. You buy different champions. You can see I have a couple unlocked, and then I have a couple not unlocked. Each week there's each couple days there's 3 champions on trial, and then everybody can play them. Everybody can play those in addition to what you've unlocked. So if I have unlocked, let's say, the Corporal, and the trials for the week are Butcher, Corporal, and Luna, well, I already unlocked them, so I just get those 3. I don't get an extra one to replace them. But let's say the trials were Baron, Butcher, and Luna. Well, I've already unlocked the Corporal, so I have him. So if it feels like you're getting gypped, you might already own that champion. You still always have enough to play. You'll never have to pay to play. You can always just log in and use your free ones. Now, the ships you can buy, I had one free from a promotion, so I just got the Packer. They all do different things. You can read the descriptions. And the one thing you should know is the ones that have some empty spaces in the back, the Sparrow and the Ark have empty spaces, you can push people through those spaces. You can knock people off there. So be careful about that, or use that to your advantage. Shells are super cheap. Look at this. This is 100 in-game cash or 14 of these real things. But 100, you earn like 140, 150 per victory. You should never be stingy with shells. Use as many as you think can help you win, and then just come buy them after the game. That is how you advance real fast. And if you don't know what shells are yet, we'll get to that. But basically, your shell generator every so often gives you free shells. Just always click on that whenever you log in. This is where you do player versus player, and this is where you do player versus bots. You'll probably start out there for the first few matches, but if you just grind it, it gets super hard super quick. Like unfairly hard. I'm going to show you guys. I'm not even going to play this fully. Because I will lose without using shells, and I don't feel like wasting shells against bots. There's really not a lot to gain. I make more money playing players right now. But if I just go through, I can pick my ship from whatever I unlocked. Then I go to champions, and I can pick up to 5 champions out of all the ones I own to be my pool for the game. So I can kind of react a little bit in-game, which is awesome. Then I can pick these shells. They have a once per game effect you hold in reserve and you can use instead of one of your turns, and they generally do pretty big things. Kill a champion, or there's some really low cost ones that like heal you by 3, and you have to earn points from in game. We'll get down to that. So we're going to go ahead and fight these bots.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today, live, another exciting battle for Ether. And here are the fearless combatants.
You'll get used to him, he says that every time. But, so you'll see down at the bottom, I'm green, my opponent's red, so it goes me, them, and any turn in which you spawn, you cannot do anything else. So if they kill your character and you have to spawn one, you cannot use a shell instead. You can't do anything but spawn the character. Normally you get a lot less time, but playing versus bots, so I'm going to pick which character I want out. And I'm just going to start with this lady. She's very basic. You'll learn her and you'll love her. But just to go over some of the basics of the map here, I've got my ship, they've got their ship. The point is to get the other person's health down to 0. Now you can do that by killing off champions. Every champion you kill does 2 damage. Or you can go ahead and just attack the ship directly. It's just another square. It's like there's a bunch of champions lined up here, and you can just attack them. So you kind of play out positions on the map, and then when they get low, usually you just rush in and deal those final points. Or if you see a good spot where somebody can, because you only take 2 damage when your guys die. So if you see a good spot to rush in and do like 5 damage before they can kill you, it's almost always worth it to trade there. The board has some blocking things that you can't attack through, and it's got some power-up squares with white backgrounds, and then some death squares, or there might be a flame that do damage. You want to avoid stepping on those, and you don't want to let people hit you onto those. So I'm just going to go ahead and spawn another champion. Now this guy doesn't need a line of sight. There's some special things you can read about each character. They mainly have a basic attack, then something that costs 2 points and something that costs 5 points. And each turn, you build up points. So I'm going to go ahead and just play a little bit, and you guys can see how this works out here. And if you're like, yeah, I learned all this in the tutorial, well, pay attention because there's some interesting things coming. She has, I'm going to pull up her information, she has health 7, my girl right now. She's got movement 3, and she's got attack pattern 2, which means she can attack a distance of 2 in that pattern. Now, if you notice, you can only attack 1 diagonal. Basically, you count the squares in the 4 cardinal. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The green's where I can move, the red's where I can attack. So if I wanted to attack her, I'd click on her, and you can see every time I hit somebody, or step on a player charge square, or just my turn starts, I get another point here. So I'm going to go ahead and attack her one more time. And now, as I use those, she's going to attack me back, and she's going to be a lot more damaging because it is bot 6. But as I build charge, it starts to unlock my abilities, and they each do different cool things. So Bug has a wide attack range, and he doesn't need line of sight. He can attack over walls and over champions, but he does very little damage. He does 1 to 2. So I'm going to zap her just for giggles here. Now, I promised you some things that you probably didn't know about, so here's what some of them are. And you'll need to know this to play the game at a high level. One of them is knockbacks. They seem underwhelming. Oh, look, I can do this and knock them onto the death square maybe if I get a good shot. Well, the cool thing about that is that, A, you can knock people off the edge of the map, but B, if you knock somebody into a wall or another champion, it does extra damage. So, like, if I was right here, and I went to knock back into these two, they'd hit each other for +1 damage each, and then she wouldn't be able to move and get an extra damage. So if I was, like, right here and knocked her into the wall, it would deal my normal damage +2 because she's knocked against something hard. If I was to knock somebody against the ship, it would deal the normal damage +2 because they were knocked against something they couldn't move. If I were to just knock back 2 champions into each other, let's say there was just 2 champions floating right here in the middle, and I knocked one into the other, they both get +1 damage. So the second guy would take 1, the first guy would take normal damage +1. So always count on that extra knockback damage. Don't be surprised if somebody walks up and does a ton of damage, and you're like, why? It was because of the knockback. Now the other thing you should know, and I'm going to put out Martel here so I can show you.
Stomping.
Oh, goodness. Lots of damage. Don't worry about these bots. Yours will be a lot easier. These are super high-level Indestructo bots. So if I look at Martel, and you see his final ability that says Sacrifice on it over there, anytime you sacrifice, a couple characters have this where they kill themselves to do something, it doesn't damage your ship. Normally, whenever a character dies, damages your ship. If you sacrifice your own, it doesn't. Now, not if you kill them. If you hit them with damage, if you explode and do an AoE and happen to catch them and kill them, it still does damage to you. Only that sacrifice keyword. So that's why you're like, well, why would I do that? I'd do 2 to myself, 3 to them? No. You can go fight them, get down to like 1 health, and then just use that sacrifice ability, and you take no damage. They did all that damage to your character for nothing because you're sacrificing them anyways, and dealing 3 to the enemy ship. And that's basically the basics. You guys can see how this goes, and I'm sure you'll play it and get a little more in depth. I'll have a lot more tactics videos where we can play some, put some cool stuff up there. But those are some of the basics. Is that you want to be wary of that extra knockback damage when you first start. It's not explained anywhere. And you want to know about that sacrifice ability. It's going to be great. Now, you can experiment with shells, too. You'll see... Actually, I'll show you guys.
Lady Aurora.
Once it gets to be the Corporal's turn again. She's going to pound on the ship. Oh, he's using a shell. When you see that animation, somebody's using a shell. So basically, you have 3 shells. You can pick any 3 the same, 3 of anything else, and they do cool in-game effects, but you have to build up. Basically, every time your ship takes damage, you gain 1 per damage, and every time you deal damage to the ship, like if I attack him, I'm going to do more than 1 damage, but I'm only going to get 1 because I'm dealing damage to his ship. If you kill a character, it deals damage to the ship, you get 1. If I take 3 damage, I'll get all 3 in Ether. It's kind of a comeback mechanism. It's really nice, so if somebody gets ahead, they don't just steal the game. And it works out really well. But so right now, I could use either of these instead of one of my 2 actions, and then I'd only have 1 other action. Your 2 actions for the turn can be anything. Move, move, attack, attack, special, special. Whatever you have the points for, you can do. Or shell 1 regular thing. So that's the basics. Just be aware, play a few games, and get in game. Hopefully I'll see you there. Well, if you rank up, I'm Aether Master Restart, and Restart here, as you can see, and hopefully I will see you guys in the game. Have fun.